is how much money Nissan left on the table by not having an Xterra to sell against it. Welcome back to Car-Pinionated, our weekly show on cars, the car industry, and driving in general. I'm Doug Stewart, digital executive producer for Fox 61 in Hartford. And with me is my friend Jeff Buckholtz, who is writer and editor at WBBM Chicago and a car enthusiast as well. Jeff, it was back last April that the fine folks at Toyota, let people touch the new 4Runner, which was out after what, 15 years of the old 4Runner. And many of them, as you say, have a Ron John Surf Shop sticker on them. Um, but they are finally getting around to actually building the car and sending it to dealers and cool stuff like that so people can actually buy them. And there's been another round of people, car people on the YouTubes getting out there and driving it and showing it. And so a couple things are coming clear that this is really weirdly spaced in the model lineup for Toyota. Um, I assume that they know what they're doing. But what are your thoughts on the new 4Runner?
This the fact that it's taking so long for it to get into dealers' hands and customers' hands is, I don't know that it's a huge surprise, and in fact, it's kind of encouraging. Toyota in the last 18 months to 2 years has brought out a metric ton of vehicles based on this particular platform, the new
Hmm.
Tundra, the new Tacoma, the Land Cruiser Prado, and the Lexus variety, which I think is the GX.
Hmm.
And there's just a whole bunch of stuff coming out on this platform, and I think that part of what Toyota is doing is making sure that the models that are coming out on that platform meet its quality standards. We talked a few months ago about an instance where maybe some components didn't meet that standard. And also probably trying to gauge demand. As you say, this is wedged into a really narrow part of Toyota's lineup. I don't know that I would call it a gap even really. Maybe it's a small dip. Where you have, you sort of have the softer road crossovers on one end, and you have the more sort of no compromises body on frame SUVs sort of at the higher end with the new Land Cruiser, um, and so forth. And it's there will be a market. There is a market for the 4Runner because, as you have pointed out, people love 4Runners, and rightly so because they're very good. But it's their part of it is them maybe trying to figure out exactly how much of a market there is now. Now that it has been a long time, as you point out, between 4Runner generations, and there are any number of other vehicles that people can buy now in that in that range.
One of the things that I find interesting in this discussion is how much money Nissan left on the table by not having an Xterra to sell against it.
The Xterra was great. Like that first one, that first
Hmm.
generation, you're sort of what, 2001 to 2004 kind of in that,
Yeah,
like
somewhere in there.
yeah, like the fly yellow with the little basket on top and the little pop out on the hatch that was supposed to suggest maybe a first aid kit or a jerry can or something like that. It was
Yeah.
such a canny vehicle. Like it was really smart. It was kind of back when Nissan was relevant in many ways and knew that it was relevant.
Hmm.
And even though it was basically a Pathfinder slash Frontier,
Mm.
it was really unique and really interesting. And the one that came after that, even though it was very obviously a two-row Pathfinder, was equally good, and the styling was really chunky and really decent, and could have really given the Forerunner some fits. You're right, but then Nissan decided to move the Pathfinder, which had been back and forth from unibody to body on frame in its experience, decided to make it more of an Explorer-like unibody crossover. And I don't know how many Rock Creek editions you can throw at the thing. It's never really going to be
Right.
um, a
Yeah.
Forerunner
Oh,
Challenger. What they should do is they should take the current Frontier, which is a heavily revised version of the one they've been selling since 2005, which was the basis of the Pathfinder and the Xterra, and make an SUV out of that.
mhm,
If they really wanted a rival for the original, for the Forerunners market,
mhm,
that's what they should do, and that thing would sell. That would do numbers because that Frontier is a handsome truck.
yeah. Yeah. I think I love the new design of the Forerunner. I think it cleans it up in a lot of ways. I think one of the things, and I've paid attention to Forerunners for a while, and I always tend to like the base model. It's one of the few cars that I'd absolutely buy the base model before going up the trim levels. And there's like nine different trim levels on this thing. There's I am not even gonna say them because I'll get them wrong, but like there's like a I know there's a limited and then a limited premium. Okay, so you can get more stuff on it. And let's see if I have the price here. Uh the base model opens up at $42,000. And then it goes up to the top, the Forerunner Platinum Hybrid, which is $64,000.
Oh my God.
Um, and that in fact is about $7,000 more than where the Land Cruiser starts.
Yeah, I mean,
Um,
I if I'm going to spend $60,000 on a Toyota body on frame SUV, it's probably going to be a Land Cruiser.
mm,
I mean,
yeah.
not that the Forerunner is a bad truck by any stretch of the
Well,
imagination, but that Land Cruiser is so handsome. I mean, we've
mhm.
talked about how the flat windscreen does a ton of work in making that thing look interesting, but it's just really good. And it feels modern, but it also feels like it has a connection to depending on what headlights you have on it, I guess, the connection to sort of the heyday of the old FJs.
Mhm.
Um, and it doesn't suffer from a lot of the added visual interest that Toyota has been trying to add to its trucks for the last few years. It's just super clean. I don't
Yeah.
know. If I had 60 grand, I think I'd be buying the Land Cruiser, and it doesn't help that the two vehicles are basically on the same platform.
Right. There's very little difference like that.
Right.
I think I'd have to look this up. Um, but I think you can get a third row in the Forerunner where you can't get it in the Land Cruiser,
Yeah, right. Because
which
the Land Cruiser is more,
weird.
yeah, the Land Cruiser is more of a sort of a dedicated, designed to be a dedicated
Yeah,
off-road vehicle,
yeah.
where I suppose the Forerunner has to, the American audience probably wants a third row.
And you touched on this a little bit, and I wonder you touch on the amount of time between their first putting this out there and now coming to market. And I think you're right. I think they want to get it right. They don't, they know that, they've got one chance to make this, it's got enough um I don't want to say baggage, but it's got to overcome the fact that it used to come with a V6 and now it's going to come with a four cylinder. And that four cylinder gets better gas mileage and it's more powerful. But the perception is there because we've been drilled in this as Americans that more cylinders are better. And a six is going to be better than a four. An eight is going to be better than a six, and a V12 is going to be better than everything. But So I think you're right that they want to get this right and not have a stumble on the launch. But I just wonder, like, have they have they also hurt themselves by having such, from April to February be, that's 10 months between putting it out there. And I see this with a lot of cars that they put something out. The Scout is a perfect example. They're putting it out there, and then 3 years you're going to be selling this. The Rivian does the same thing. And granted, those are different case scenarios,
Mhm.
but I don't know. I just wonder if that hurts it somehow.
It may, yeah. I mean, there are a lot of things that can pop up in the public consciousness between um, premiere and rollout. And we've all shown that our attention spans are growing shorter and shorter all the ooh, a kitty. Anyway, the I think there is a concern about that. Certainly if there's any company that can overcome that, it's a company with the, advertising and marketing might of Toyota. Um, and of course, the underlying truck is probably going to be good. But your point about engines is really interesting. It was a big deal when the Forerunner got a V6 and then briefly a V8, as I recall. Pathfinder had a V8 too for a minute. And there is that perception, particularly in the truck community,
Mhm.
about engine size, number of cylinders, and that kind of thing. And it comes down to if you're towing something or you're hauling something or whatever, or if you're carrying a lot of gear, and I suspect that a lot of the ads we're going to see for Forerunners are going to have them with various overlanding equipment strapped or mounted to them in some way. How stressed is the engine going to be while driving all of this stuff around? And you can put all the turbochargers on a four-cylinder engine you want, but ultimately the four-cylinder is going to rev higher and work harder to haul the same amount of stuff as a larger displacement V6 or a straight six, whatever. Um, I do think it's interesting that Mazda in its three-row and two-row, the larger crossover, the CX-70 and 90, they're using a straight six, which is sort of, I mean, that's very Mazda to be kind of going against the grain with stuff like that. But I mean, it is a question, and it's one of those things that obviously car makers are doing what they can to meet expectations in terms of economy, in terms of emissions. All of those things are good. And in some cases, and I'm not saying this necessarily for Toyota, but I think in a lot of cases, they're they're hoping that whatever happens outside the warranty period. I mean, it's going to be good enough until it gets out of warranty, and then it's not our problem.
Yeah.
Um,
I think
I
that's the Bentley motto.
Yes, well, yeah, it sure is. So I don't know. I I imagine people will buy a Forerunner with a hybrid turbo four-cylinder engine because that's what's available. And the salespeople will tell them that it's as good as the V6 and will save them money on gas, which it probably will.
Mhm.
Um, but will it change the forerunnerness of it? I don't know that it can't help but, right?
Yeah, and I think that there's probably like this much of the market, wherever it is, right, that will stomp their feet, right? They're going to be very vocal about it. Well, it's not a six, it's not a six. I'm like, okay, okay, dude,
Yeah,
okay, move on.
yeah.
But I think it's probably you sold me on the fact that it's more efficient and more powerful, and
Mhm.
I'll live with that.
Yeah,
I for one am thrilled, thrilled to see the inline six make a comeback.
yeah.
We have one for Chrysler, we
Mhm.
have the Mazda one. There's another one somewhere, and I don't remember.
Oh yeah, I can't remember either, but yeah, yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
that's beautiful.
Yeah. Give us a nice smooth engine experience.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
All right. Um, I we I had sort of when we were planning out this, I had sort of said, well, let's do some homework and some field trip and try to find one so we could sit in one.
Ah,
As it stands, there's not a
nobody
lot of
has
them
one
around.
yet.
No
Yeah,
one has those. Like one in Connecticut that I could find.
yeah.
But you will be seeing some tomorrow, or this coming in the next couple days at the
Yes.
Chicago show.
Yes, as we record this, I'm preparing for Media Day, the media preview day at the auto show, and they are promising at least one Forerunner on the Toyota stand, um, which is one of the two biggest displays at the auto show. The other one being Ford,
Of
which
course.
it makes sense because they build the Explorer here in Chicago, the Explorer and the Police Interceptor. So they always represent here for this show for that reason. So, yeah, but when we do a follow-up episode, I'll be sure to report back with my impressions if I'm able to get any of what the Forerunner looks like and how, how it stacks up to the um, intra-company competition.
What is it? TNGA, the platform
Yes,
Toyota new.
TNGA. Yeah. Toyota New Global Architecture or something like
Yeah,
that. Yeah.
and I think there's another letter after it because whatever,
Yes.
whatever.
Yeah.
Old, like the X body, eight bodies. That was nice.
Oh,
Grumpy
yeah.
old men we are sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, we're going to land this plane for this week, dock the boat, whatever you want to call it. Appreciate all you folks joining us in this adventure. You can see more Car-Pinionated episodes on our playlist on YouTube. And if you have any questions or concerns or interesting facts that you want to share with us, my email address is dstewart@fox61.com. And we will see you next time.